gotta get. Boom, 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 gotta get. Gotta get. Gotta get. Gotta get.
To talk dress code. Stay tuned. Yeah, well. And the moral of the story is, don't do noodles, kids. All right. Joining us here on Reverse the Verse Live, we have some of my favorite people in the whole studio, and Jeremiah. Don't want to leave Jeremiah out. Our character art team. We got Gage Hallman, Jeremiah Lee, and Corey Johnson. Welcome.
Hello, hello.
You say that every time I come on the show.
I know. I don't want you to feel left out. It's you know, every time it's you know, this is a very personal show to me. It's, you know, it's not like the other shows. I kind of get to, you know, do my thing here. I don't know. I talk about, you know, I look at people like Corey and Gage. I think about how much I like them.
Hashtag
And how much they're my favorite people. And then I'm like, oh, but then there's also you. Now, in your defense, though, usually I put you as far away from me as possible.
This is true.
I put you next to me.
I know, this is true. Or I feel like I'm taking like a step up in life.
He has to keep an eye on you, I think.
Yeah, that's really what it is. That's really what it is. All right. So joining us on the show, Gage, Jeremiah, and Corey. Now, for everybody watching at home, everybody's RTV is somebody's first RTV. That's not how that phrase goes. Every RTV is somebody's first RTV. So we're going to take a couple moments introducing yourselves and what you do for Star Citizen. And we'll start with Jeremiah. We'll start with Jeremiah. Jeremiah, tell the folks at home or work or in their car if they're Captain Richard who you are and what you do for Star Citizen.
Am I looking at the camera? Where's the camera? Oh.
Yeah, there you
Which
go.
one? Okay. Hi, my name is Jeremiah Lee. I'm a senior concept artist here in the Los Angeles studio. And I draw costumes, armors, alien, anything that have to do with pretty much the human rig or creature rig or...
Is that, you get called upon to do creature stuff?
Yeah.
It sounds good as your character stuff.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I also wear beards on stream.
I'd actually forgotten about that.
Oh, I have never forgotten about that.
I need you to bring that in, actually.
Really?
I actually have a use for it. Okay, sorry.
Okay,
all right, so that's Jeremiah Lee, character concept artist. Let's go across the table. Gage, how are you? How are you doing?
How am I? I'm good. I'm good, man.
Show's off the rails already.
Yeah, it's too late. Gage Hallman, senior character tech artist. Almost said character artist.
Okay.
Sorry, Corey.
What does a senior character tech artist do?
I basically am at the end of their pipeline. I take what they do and put it in a game.
That's just it. You just grab it and you put it in.
Yeah, I drag it into the CryEngine and I'm like, all right, I'm done.
You want to give me a little bit more? I got an hour to fill here, dude. What's putting it in game mean?
So really, I'm the rigger, and you know we do all the skinning setup, attach to the skeleton, do weapon attachments, port attachments, all the technical aspects that are kind of invisible to the player, but allow them to use it. Yeah.
And last but certainly not least, making his triumphant return to RTV, you were not, Corey Johnson, you were on the show one time, it was like 2 years ago? Was it that long?
A little bit less than that, but
wow. But it was,
right when I started, yeah.
It was like right when you started, like you came.
So I knew
like,
nothing,
so
but...
like, where's my desk? And you're like, here's your desk, okay, and here's your password on a piece of paper. Like, hey, you want to be on RTV? It's like, oh, okay. And that's why we have the Corey Johnson rule that I make sure everybody's been here for 3 months before we bring him on the show.
Yeah,
Welcome back, Corey.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So what do you do for Star Citizen? Now that I'm hoping you know now.
Yes, is it here? There. I'm the lead character artist. So I do make characters, but the majority of it is trying to help ensure that all the other character artists can work with minimal things coming in and stopping them from getting their work done. And then developing pipelines and just making the process as smooth and quick as possible.
Really low-key stuff, yeah.
So basically, we have a nice little slice of our character pipeline here. You got Jeremiah, where concepts begin, and then we've got Corey and his team who actually work on building it out in 3D, and then we've got Gage who actually does the process of implementing it in game and making sure that it can work, and move properly and stuff like that. And what's really neat, and we talk about this in our tours, and if you ever get a chance to, if you're ever in the LA area and you want to tour the studio, remember we do offer those through the player relations ticket system, so you can check out that for specific days and times. But on the tours, one of the things I like to do is, when you come to your area is set up really nicely. So, something can start there and it can go there and then go there, and then when he's got a problem, it can go back to you, and if it's something that you can't quite fix, like, no, we're gonna need a little bit more concept because we have to change that tremendously. It goes back to Jeremiah, and it goes back and forth. It's really cool to see that working. It's one, because we are a distributed development. We have 5 studios across the world, almost 500 people across the studios. So a lot of our techniques are about working through that distributed development, but it's really nice to see so much of the character team, not only in one building, but sitting at the desks right next to each other and watching that process go back and forth.
It actually does help a lot, because before it was just insane trying to like get questions or answers for certain things. It was just all over. But with this new setup that we have with the studio here, everything's just quick. Gage is literally right across from me. I can just yell at him. Or just stare at his beautiful eyes.
Yes, many of the time we stand up and talk over monitors. It's like
we've
just walk through. We've
done that. We've done that.
It's like Gyromite.
Yeah. Every time I want to talk to Corey, I can message him, but instead I yell his name, and he has this like he's working on his desk and be like, "No, go back to work."
Or you stand up and just wave your arms because their music's too loud until they react.
All right. So if you're watching and this is your first RTV, you have to fight. No, that's a different thing. If you're watching RTV, we do take questions live from the chat. We take questions from 2 different places. You can, if you're watching us live in Twitch chat, you can submit your question there. Please preface your question with the word question in capital letters surrounded by brackets. That's going to help our wonderful Tyler Nolan back there pull the questions out from chat. I got a hair in my mouth.
Don't blow it at me, man.
We also take questions from Spectrum. I'm sorry, I tried to get through all of that and it was just really getting at me. We also take questions in Spectrum, where you can do the same thing. Preface your question with the word question, surrounded by brackets. He's pulling out there, and then he's sending them to me on our lovely tablet. Now, we also pre-game some questions for the folks who couldn't be here live, as we do every single week. After yesterday's RTV went up, we posted a thread where folks got to submit their questions and then vote up which ones they want to see answered most. So while we are waiting for your questions to come in live, we will start with some of our pre-game questions here. And right off the bat, I do want to preface that, as happens with many of these shows, a lot of the questions tend to be design focused. Design is a role, just like just like a rigger, just like an artist, just like a conceptor, and stuff like that. We do not have a designer on the show today, but we have done our best to research some of these answers ahead of time. So we'll do our best in answering some of the more design related questions. This question: will we ever get the ability to keybind the opening or removal of our helmets? Moby glassing every single time we enter a friendly station is ... annoying, and then they added a I don't know why I'm looking at you at this. Who wants to take it? What are our thoughts about key binding a take your helmet off, so we don't have to go through the whole rigmarole?
Well, if we're going in the hierarchy, in our studio, Corey would be higher than me and
that's true.
So why don't you answer this question, Corey?
Yeah, I mean, there's a possibility of it. I don't want to. This is definitely a more design thing. It's not a decision the character team would make. Possibly.
Okay. Well, I went ahead and
I agree it's annoying. Yes. So yeah, that is a good reason to have it.
I went ahead and pre-gamed this question with some of the members of our design team. So I can tell you, if you've been following Star Citizen for any amount of time, one of the things you'll notice is that our key bindings change pretty drastically over development. Nobody's making any bones about that. We're still in the middle of development. We are still working out the keybinds. Something like keybinds for regular actions like that, like taking your helmet off, when you get through airlocks and stuff, is definitely something that is being considered for that. We cannot tell you yes or no at this point. Just like with any other patch, the key bindings are reviewed with every single content patch. So the best I can offer for this is, it's an idea that I like. I think it's an idea that we all like and whatever. Let us know on Spectrum, drum support for it, but it's definitely something that's being considered. So, all right, still waiting for the questions to come in live. We'll go back to the thread here. Will some suits or armor sets be designed for high G, pulling pilots that high G, where they pull pilots that assist with G-force, redout, and blackout resistance? So basically, they're asking, is there? Again, this is another design-related question, but what do we think about the idea of specific suits that would not just look differently, but actually give our characters benefits in how they fly their ship?
I think that's pretty much that type of philosophy is the heart of Star Citizen, right? Like I think we've said it countless times, we don't want to make endgame armor. Like we don't want to make, when you're level 53, you can get this armor. Like, that's not the armor I don't think that's a Star Citizen philosophy. What we want is, there's always going to be a best kind of armor per situation, right? So there's going to be...
Push the change, allow you to use your entire armor set.
Right, like, because Because then if we had the endgame armor, no matter what you do, from farming
Yes.
to exploring, you'd wear that endgame armor, right? But we don't want to do that. Like, so the explorer suit, for example, what we don't, the character team doesn't put stats. That's more of the gameplay and design. But for us, we were thinking, what type of shapes can we make so that it'll look like this can, how do you say, take the hazardous environments and stuff like that in mind. Maybe they have the little thing on their arm to have readings of the environment. Not saying that's going to be in there, but just visually.
Well, so on that note, actually, we on the design side, there are gas components on the helmet. So in like the entities themselves, once we get it into implementation, there are all these components for, you know, gas, air, all that stuff. So it is completely within the realm of possibility and probably the plan to implement those things. And be like, when you're on this surface, if you're on Hurston, it's like, oh, this probably shouldn't breathe this.
It's a very cautious thing. It's a slippery slope. We don't want. We don't. You see this a lot in MMOs, and Todd Pappy was talking about this the other day, where you play an MMO today, and you get to level 60 or level 70 or level 80, whatever the level cap is, and then you start seeing everybody wearing the same armor.
That's right.
You start every warlock wears the same armor, every rogue wears the same armor, and we don't want that. You know, the work that you guys are doing is pretty good. It's all right. I mean, it's very good in a lot of. Yes. Keep going. Keep trying. But you don't want to see that get sidelined by min-maxing.
Yes.
By like all the work and all the effort you guys do to make this living, breathing universe and to make the best game of Barbie dress up ever in the world gets sidelined by somebody figuring out that this particular armor gives you the absolute best, you know, red out, blackout, you know, protection. So that's all anybody's wearing, kind of thing. So to answer the question, it's a thing that we're constantly considering. It's a thing that we're constantly mulling over. It's not a thing that has a definitive answer just yet. It is a topic of, it's been a topic of discussion in the community forever. It has been a topic of discussion internally as well. It's just luckily right now it's not something we need an answer for. So we can still afford to have that conversation. We can still afford to wait and see if we can discover an implementation of this that lets us have our cake and eat it too. You know, some minor benefits or whatnot, but maybe not enough that, you know, you don't put on your super cool, you know, this is my signature outfit. Right. You know,
I am still waiting for the day when we have like pretty much most of our stats for every piece of armor done. And there's going to be that one guy who doesn't give a crap what he looks like. All he cares about is stats. And so like I feel like there's going to be a one time maybe in beta or something when he finds all the stats for every single thing, and we'll find the ultimate combo, and it'll just look disgusting. I'm just gonna wait for the first person to do that. Gonna be my screen.
Heavy OMC torso, tiny helmet.
Just disgusting, and I think it's gonna be great.
And then there will be the other players like me that'll be flying around in a silk shirt and a cape, and they'll be redding out and blacking out every 3 seconds because they refuse not to look like
fabulous.
Are you confirming something? Do I have to? Are you?
Mark Skeleton shirt in game.
Oh, yes. No, I'm not confirming anything. I'm speaking only in metaphor. All right. Is there? It's gonna be one of those shows. Is there a possibility to make org-based color schemes like a uniform? Now, I think this question goes closer to the real question. Have we talked about allowing players to color or dye?
So the primary, secondary that you were planning would probably be a big part of that.
Yeah, so to me the question sounds like someone's asking, hey, my organization is these 3 colors. Will we ever make something that can allow them to color their stuff in that direction? It's tough because, I mean, will we limit that by size of organization? Because we can't fill every request, right? Because it's a certain amount of time to do that. I think we're gonna have enough. We're doing quite a bit of material variance, so I think you'll be able to make the color scheme you want with pretty much any armor set or clothing set, and at least get near what you are setting up for your own organization.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna give the option for, but this is theory here. I don't think that we're gonna give the players option to choose specifically like hue number 246H mixed with why, like, you know, I don't think we're going to be that specific, but in the ATV that Shane brought up, we have 21 different color variants per asset. Yeah. And so there will be a lot of options for the players to kind of still customize to a certain extent, but I don't think we're going to hand you like a painting, like a paintbrush, and be like, this is just do what you want. I think there's going to be a level of restriction on customization, but we'll still give you a plethora for you to play with.
This is a good time to remind folks that we are talking about current thinking and current implementations and current plans. And again, folks who have been following the project since the beginning, they'll tell you, that this is game development. The only constant in game development is change. Even if this is what we're thinking today, it doesn't necessarily mean that we won't have a different idea about it 6 months from now or a year from now or whatever. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about things. It is an ongoing discussion, just like the stats thing. The coloring your spacesuits, the coloring your ships. It's a thing that has not been 100% set in stone, nailed down. We can do it or can't do it. It's not a thing you jump into lightly, because it's not a genie you can put back in the bottle. Right. So you have to we want to build out the world, see what we construct a bit more. See the universe that we make before we start making decisions about what you guys will be able to customize in that universe.
Actually,
go ahead.
On that note, though, so like the can versus like will, we definitely can do most of these things, and we kind of have. I think where we start to limit ourselves is how does it affect the player or other features? Because we can do all these things, but then we cut into like draw calls or memory or what we're sending over the network, and then we got to start pulling back and be like, do I want to give a player a million colors, or do I want to send like ship data or something?
Exactly.
Don't quote me on that.
As the Federation president said in Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you must do a thing.
Packet loss.
Nice. But also to add to the material variant thing, how we're doing material variants isn't, the way we do it is very unique to each armor set. So some, like the more racing style undersuits and armor will have more bold color across more of the assets, whereas combat stuff might only have some slight accents. You know what I mean? Whatever makes sense for that armor, for the manufacturer.
You want to limit for the aesthetic kind of.
So it's a lot of games will have, okay, these two spots change, and it becomes very predictable where the color change is going to happen, and we're not doing that. We're keeping it very much. Each armor set has that uniqueness to it. So.
Yeah, no, even me as a layman have noticed that. So it's one of these things. One of those things that gets very easy to appreciate.
Did you say me as a language?
Yes, me as a layman.
Oh, I heard you as a language.
As a character art, I'm a layman.
We all speak Jared.
Okay.
I speak.
So we've got the questions coming in from live, and the first question is good for you guys, I think. What does the art team think about various fans calling the black and gold executive armor Yeezy?
Yes.
I mean, we don't have control over the decisions the fans make, so.
Yeah, praise Jesus, dude. Yeah.
They can do whatever they want, and.
Can we shout out to the writers? Can we get a new name for these armors?
I've been trying to call it the Captain Power armor.
Oh, no.
The first time I saw the RSI executive suit, I thought it looked like Captain Power. Am I alone in that? I mean, you probably have to be over 35, or as I am alone in that. But I thought it looked like Captain Power. So I saw it the first time. I walked right into Josh. I'm like, you put Captain Power in the game. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Because he put the Yeezy in.
That's why.
I approve. That is amazing. That is amazing.
When you get the full set, you get Dragon Energy.
All right. So here's another question. Now, yesterday's ATV talked a lot about legacy armors. Now, before we get to this question, let's talk just in real general for anybody that might not have seen the ATV yet. What are legacy armors, and why have we been working on them?
You could speak better to that. You've been here longer than me.
Yeah, when you interviewed Shane, it was.
Well, if we're going longer, Gage has been here the longest. If we're going legacy, you are the most legacy here.
That's true. I was there when those first armors were put together. We witnessed.
Okay, fine. I'll say it. Jesus. Okay. So
listen, man.
So legacy armors are pretty much armors that are legacy.
That's brilliant.
They're older versions of the current armor that we have in the game. What camera am I looking at?
The legacy,
this
perhaps.
one. I'll just look at you, right? And so, and we also the armors that were made about 3 to 4 years ago did not respect any of the zones. And also the characters
materials.
Materials.
Like, pretty much everything about
Yeah,
them
You take a
wasn't
close
set
look
up.
at those armors, they start to fall apart.
And also wasn't the heavy, like almost as heavy as, well, English, was they're almost as heavy as a Constellation in polycount at one point.
Yeah, they were not efficient.
Yeah.
So really, those were put in not as like a proper game type asset, really, as in like we're getting some art and we're giving it to the players for them to play around with, not like this is good, good for the game.
Because I remember when we tried our first FPS, like for Star Marine, like way back when, and when there were a bunch of heavies in there, it wouldn't function. Like
Same thing with the old ships. Yeah, everything with polycount was just too crazy.
And so just on like, if we remove just the visual aspect of it, just on gameplay optimization wise, a lot of our old armors were just a mess.
Also, they were draw call heavy.
Yeah, exactly.
Textures.
Right.
Because now we have the new layer shader that allows us to merge draw calls based on the material stack. And they didn't have that at all. It was just draw calls everywhere.
And those were also made before Josh Herman, and also before I joined on as well. And I kind of mentioned in the ATV, a lot of the art for concept was done from contract freelance concept artists, it was just all over the place. And so what we wanted to do was, since we have to optimize the old armors to the new, we were like, should we just like use the old sculpts and do it again? And we're like, no, if we can make these assets look even better, why not give it that pass as well? And so we decided to update all the light, medium, heavy, marine, and outlaw. And so, yeah.
The performance thing was what I really wanted to get to, so thank you so much, Gage, for hitting that. It's very analogous to the ship pipeline. Yeah, again, I keep going back to the well. The folks who have been following the project for a while, you've seen a tremendous evolution of our ships. Yeah, we've talked about this before. The second iteration of the Freelancer series, the Freelancer that had all the rivets, are currently still in your hangars. The Freelancer Max, the Freelancer Mist, and the Freelancer Dur, for instance. The Freelancer Max has a resource footprint equal to the Idris.
So, a backstory on those. I might have said this before on our TV, I'm not sure. But some of those models, because they were really just to get in for the player quickly, is literally the concept model.
Yeah, it's literally a concept model. That's what it was. It was they took the rivets from the concept model in the Freelancer, and instead of rebuilding it and baking it down, they just
No normals.
So it's one of those things. This is game development, and game development is not just building a game. It is learning how to build a game. And when you're trying to build the biggest, baddest, most awesome game of all time, there's going to be a learning curve, and that's what the development of our ship pipeline is, and it applies to the character pipeline as well with the armors. So good job, Gage. Good job, Gage. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving me the answer I was looking for. How far back will the legacy armor designs go? Are there any? You said we did the marine heavy. Which ones have we done? Which ones are being included right now?
Light, medium, heavy, outlaw, and marines.
Okay.
So we've done six armor sets. 6 armors.
Actually, you mentioned the original.
The original
After bringing
RSI
that up,
spacesuit?
that would be the most legacy.
That would be
that we could bring back. Yeah.
Any plans to do that? Am I aware of?
I heard recently they were going to hide them in the middle of every planet.
Yes. It's the RSI.
Currently, no. There's no. For right now, the legacies that we have done now, that's what they're. At least for a little bit.
Gotcha. Now it's moving on to bigger and better things.
We want to, on the note, we want to put a lot of focus on finishing S42 assets and PU relevant assets before we go back and start remaking more. The legacies were a special case for the players.
Right. I don't think we'll ever make like a legacy armor of something, unless because we might do maybe, I don't know, for story purposes there was an older race or an older human colony somewhere.
Subhumans, yeah.
But we would treat that as a new asset.
Yeah.
Like for this one, the legacy armor was just like the stuff we have in the game is just so unoptimized. We need to
Yeah.
get rid of it, and we need to fix it. And so that's why we call it legacy.
Yeah, it makes me think of what you're talking about, like when you see those movies in the old, like RAF, pilot shows up who's wearing the old school bomber jacket, and everything is old, and everybody else is wearing more modern stuff, and he's like, no, I'm still flying with the old stuff. Like that's the kind of thing. It would be a new asset. It wouldn't technically be a legacy model.
Yes.
Yeah. Legacy is a development term as opposed to a in fiction.
Correct.
Numbers term.
Correct.
Okay.
Well,
Wow,
there's
you're
some,
so good
lore
with words,
implications.
Jay.
actually,
Although the
yeah.
marine armor is technically supposed to be,
Yeah, older, like
Yes.
Mark.
if the current ones are Mark III, then these would be Mark I. I don't know the actual
Yeah.
lore behind it, but yeah.
Sure.
Right.
So-
Sure. I don't know. I feel like I'm in a bad
Jeremiah
mood.
trying to undermine the argument.
I'm in a very bad mood.
The
right
pork.
now.
It's the pork cup.
Drink your pork.
Is it a pork cup?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Can we go on? What's the next question?
No, we must
Good
wait
way you
here.
sit on that. Yeah.
Welcome to game development, everybody.
Sound effects. Yeah, man, that could be an important part of that.
Audio team.
Oh god, now that's on the internet.
I should buy a boat.
Okay.
All right, next question from the thread there. Will capes and scarves be an element we can add to or remove from armor, or will they only be linked to the chest piece?
Zone Master.
Zone Master.
No, we have Zone Master here.
I mean, I originally said Zone Lord, but I mean, Master Lord.
Sorry, Zone Lord. Yeah.
Zone Lord.
Yeah, we do. So the Legacy Outlaw Light, the chest armor carries a scarf with it, but that is part of the core. We could have undersuits that have the scarf, but it would get zone called when you put armor on. So yes, we can do it, but not as its own thing. It still
So no
has
scarf
to
item,
work.
Really. Yeah.
No specific scarf item, but there can be assets with scarves that have to fit within our system. Yeah.
And capes?
Yeah.
I'm asking for a friend.
I mean,
Kickstarter's
we
good.
have the trench coat that people played with, so I mean that's the same thing as a cape, basically, just without sleeves.
Just call it trench coat a cape.
You did, but I'm gonna
Similar setup, similar
I'm gonna let it
setup,
slide. I'm gonna let it slide.
right? I mean, similar
Talk of fashion,
setup.
not Techman. No, you're right.
We don't have any capes, but yeah, we can definitely do that.
I kind of have a question. Do we have, just on like if we were to, would we have the option to turn off capes or the scarves off from the core?
Oh yeah, the zone hiding pretty much. So there is an issue on the animation side of that, like hiding, because we use sim joints or some
Right.
simulation setup on those. So when we zone hide the cape, we have to do a cleanup and rebuild of the skeleton
interesting.
of those joints. So that's where the issue comes in of just hiding them on and off.
Right. So we'd be making pretty much two assets then, with two different.
Yeah, we could do like a core that has one and one that doesn't, which isn't a big deal. It's really just one asset and you turn it off on one
Right.
on the export.
I
But,
don't think we'll ever have direct player control on armor for scarves and capes, but for clothing, that's just wear it or don't, right? So,
Right.
For those who maybe haven't followed along with the with other broadcasts, what is zone culling?
I thought you were the Zone Lord.
He is the Zone Lord.
I don't set it up though. He sets it up. It's basically, so I'm wearing this shirt and I'm wearing this jacket. Without the jacket worn, you see all of the shirt. When you put the jacket on, everything that's not visually seen will actually be zone called out. So it doesn't exist anymore. So that way when you're doing animations and stuff, you don't have the shirt poking through.
Yeah.
It allows us to not have jackets be incredibly puffy to allow for that shirt geo to stick around.
Really
So-
avoiding layers, because you don't want
Yeah.
layers of geo over each other, and of course,
It just
when you
never works.
Yeah, imagine the body, the shirt, the jacket, and then all those plates of geo on top of each other. So with Corey zones, we split it up, and then you can just start ripping them out based on markup. Yeah,
Yeah, without zone calling, you'd have to
it'd be madness.
line up the edges so perfectly that
Right.
when it is deforming, everything is deforming
The same.
exactly the same, and even then is not really
Which
a
we tried
guarantee.
back in 2.6.
Yeah.
We did do that.
Yeah,
Not anymore.
so zone calling.
Yeah, it's an exciting feature. I like zone culling a lot. You know, when I'm sitting there making my creator wrestler on WWE 2K17 or whatever, and we're adding layers, and you start seeing the shirt poke through the top of the jacket. I'm just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, it's such
Unplayable.
It's a thing that just really takes you out of your character. And when you're sitting here building a first-person universe, your character is your entry point to this entire game, this entire universe here. So zone calling is a big part. How does that apply? This follow-up question from the live chat to things like weapons. When people have guns and stuff that poke through capes. Or scarves, or the back of a jacket or something. Has there been any talk about?
So we have basically, imagine each weapon gets attached to like a bone that's on the character, and that bone is attached to somewhere on the skeleton of the human. Like let's say the upper spine. So if you have a gun attached to the upper spine, we have that joint with its offset basically holding out this far from the body. So let's say when we have another layer, we put on torso 0, which is a shirt, and then you have torso 1, or an armor, we would extend that joint on that item further to allow it to move. So when the system is fully polished, you will see these weapons adjusting based on the clothing you put on. Yeah.
Nice.
So if you put on a cape or something.
Whatever's the outermost layer, it's driving those attachments, right?
Yeah.
I think that's-
Yeah. So you mentioned that when that's fully implemented, so that's not fully implemented now.
Yeah, because we do have it. It's just with the immense variation we have, it's not 100% functional. Like you can play with it enough that you'll kind of notice it start to fall apart every now and then, which is why we're honing it, and we're still building out the whole design spec as we see more clothes need different specifications. Yeah. But if you ever see a cape clip a gun, send it to Corey.
No, but I think it always
Yes.
will, because the thing is, the hardest thing about our game is EVA. I think that's
Zero G sim.
yeah, zero G sim is just
The beast.
it's a nightmare for symmetry. Like I don't know, symmetry. Oh my goodness, anything that's simulated, right? So because our players, because I've seen some people on Twitch would do. Oh my goodness, was it IFC missions? Did I say it right? It is, right?
That's close.
ICC,
ICC.
ICU,
There's IFCS.
IFC, yeah.
And
No,
there's ICC.
ICC. ICU. Missions.
Yes.
And it's out in space, and they're all flying around, and they'd be wearing the Sand Nomad. And that thing is just like all over the weapons and
I'm sorry, how was that again?
That's pretty accurate.
Zoom in and GIF, please. How was it again? All right.
And yeah, it is kind of annoying, but I think, and I hope the backers kind of will understand, there will always be some sort of clipping, right? We can't simulate real life yet.
Yeah.
We can't have things collide on every single part correctly. So you'd have to forgive us, but there will be some things that will clip.
It's always a matter of give and take too, because there are things that you can do when you're the only player in the universe. If you're playing a single player game, everything is there local on your machine. That's it. But when you're talking about a massively multiplayer environment, where now that simulation has to be sent to everyone else in the area.
I'll stop you there. So actually, simulation happens locally per machine.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not that the simulation would be sent. Just before we get the comments on it, so simulation wouldn't be sent to other machines. It's that basically it tells other people's machines, it's like, oh, they're wearing this, and then it would sim locally on their machine.
Gotcha.
I don't mean to. Sorry.
So the same simulation would have to happen on every
So
computer.
it could be flapping right on one person's computer, flapping left on another
It could flap a
because
little
it's simulating just
they
here.
get the movement of the character, and
'Cause that
then the
would
sim
destroy the
is
network.
calculated locally. Yeah.
So that would address the thing that I was thinking of.
Dun,
To
dun,
an
dun,
extent.
It's basically,
To an extent.
position, network, the actual simulation, local.
But it's also relevant having first person or single player versus multiplayer, because now in a single player game, like let's say you're playing like Arkham or something, that cape is designed specifically for that environment on that character, and it's just like you can put in all the years of polish on an asset, versus we now have all these characters running around, and it can alter draw calls per scene. It's not like you can completely hone in on.
Yeah, so Watch Dogs is a really good example of the main character has really good cloth sim on him. And if you notice, okay, his jacket goes so far down his legs.
Yeah.
Most other NPC character assets have a similar length because they're reusing everything developed for the main character everywhere they possibly can.
Apply it all over, yeah.
Because if you're going to spend that much time to make it that good, you want to use it everywhere you can.
Yeah.
For us, every asset is the hero asset, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a thing to you got to balance. gotta balance that.
Gotcha.
And that brings up something interesting with the zero G too, because another reason that's such an issue is in most games you have your set of animations, and you can test your sim for all those animations and make sure like, okay, it may not be perfect, but it works within this animation set. I'm doing all these actions and it doesn't clip, but then you go into zero G and it's like I'm diagonal with one arm this way, going 10 miles an hour that way, and it's just upside down and underwater is basically. So,
And I've seen a lot of games where they will bake in certain animations for like the cloth and stuff like that. So even though it looks like, oh, this got a sim on it, it's not really. That animation was baked.
You can blend
It's
between
doing the
them.
same loop of that
Yeah.
that motion, which is cheaper to a certain extent.
which works. So
It doesn't, it's always the same. And since that character or that asset will only be in a fixed amount of certain levels and fights, will do a set level of actions, they can do that. And normally that number is it's a lot smaller than our game has. So they can afford to do that. But for us, we're just like,
you get that, and then the universe is straight off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that though.
Something like that.
no.
No. All right. So next question here. How much freedom do you have in the concept phase, Gage?
So when I'm designing my concepts, I got nowhere to go on this one.
I mean, Gage actually does have quite a bit of.
Yeah, he does, actually.
There is say that he has because the armor needs to function
Yes.
like an armor because if you have a solid piece of metal here, then
Yeah. Oh yeah. So yeah, Jeremiah,
You know,
other
you can't
concept
do that,
artists, yeah,
so-
they'll send stuff over like midway through the phase so that when they're fully done, I don't look at it and be like, I can't do that, dude. Like what?
go redo
Yeah,
all
just
this and
Take
all
that
of
off.
Yeah, yeah.
Actually, I don't know if we could talk about it, but there was a leg recently that we did something similar. That's as far as I can go on that. Yeah.
I like how the non-concept artists are talking about a question that was directed at me.
I don't know if I can talk about this, but there was a leg.
Jeremiah knows. He knows the leg.
His leg.
I know which leg you're talking about. I
Yeah,
know
see,
exactly
no,
what leg.
communication happened.
So, yes and no is the answer to that question.
It was how much freedom do you have in the?
Oh,
shoot. Yes and no.
Yes, wait. So, I would say, technically, what Corey and Gage, Sean Tracy and Josh tell me is to do whatever you want and just make it look good, and we'll figure it out.
Aesthetic first, really.
Aesthetic
Yeah.
first. And so, but I think as a responsible concept artist, I should, there's something that I personally do is I try to take in consideration of, for instance, the basic knowledge of zones and also just basic movement and animation. I try to think of it.
Yeah.
But there has been times when I just was like, you know what, I just want to put this thing here. And Gage will be like, that's not going to work. Well, I'll be like, well, we'll make it work.
And sometimes, yeah, if the look is important enough, we can always push. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can.
Yeah.
Bend, you know.
There's rules that can be bent.
Yeah.
And there's other rules that we just have to say that's not going to happen.
Right. But then the thing is, freedom as in creativity, creatively, yes. But if I was tasked to make, I don't know, a Shion armor, I'm not going to make a human, burger flipper. You know what I mean? Costume. I would still have to communicate with design and with the writers to get the correct lore. And
Still got style sheets in.
Shion burger flipper.
yeah, confirmed. 2018.
This is true.
Well, all right.
Quarter 4.
That's what we're doing now.
It's on the roadmap.
All right.
Yeah.
Backpacks. Any talk about backpacks being incorporated into?
So, I mean, we can talk from the visual of them. I'm not going to talk about it from the designer side. Yeah, we can have backpacks. Backpacks would. So if you have a backpack on a shirt, it's technically a jacket. And if
As
there's
far as the zones go.
in terms of the zones, if it's a backpack on a jacket, it's just part of the jacket.
Unless we do the super secret torso 2,
Oh God.
which allows us to break
Yeah.
some rules.
Yeah, which we try to. Yeah, that's the bending, but we try to avoid that.
talked about
Special
torso
casing
too.
stuff just gets gets muddy, so try to avoid it.
We could actually, so I think with how you made the, or wanted to incorporate the pants accessory zone and the shirt accessory zones, you could have a backpack zone, which is a thing that basically we can give them free reign, and then when something goes over it, fine, it turns off.
Yeah, so you have a shirt and it comes with a backpack. When you put a jacket on, then it, through zone calling, it's gone. So I mean, there's a lot of room to play with things. We just have to really think about the technical requirements to then do that thing, because it's rarely ever just straightforward.
Yeah.
Well, we have A, B, and C, and then where can we start to?
It's not easy to. It's not. I think a lot of people think, oh, it's just a backpack, just put it on. It's not that easy. Once we have a fixed pipeline or an actual working rule set for clothing and customization, we have to stick to that design philosophy. We can't just be like, I'm just gonna put a unicorn horn straight through his chest because screw it, why not? Like,
Really had a left field on that one.
or like I can put on, because in real life you could. In real life, I can put on 5 jackets.
Yeah.
Right. In real life, I can. But game-wise, that's just, unless we specifically from the very beginning design with knowledge that someone's going to put on 5 jackets, then I guess we could come up with something. But that wasn't the intent when we first designed the whole zones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Customization.
Yeah, as an example, for clothing, we have a checklist, just a technical checklist to go through, and it's around 40 points
It's getting big.
for like an entire character to check, and
For PU assets.
for PU clothing and all that, not armor. And the reason for that is we're trying to maintain as high quality as possible, but we have some pretty extensive modularity, which the more modularity, it takes away quality. So we're trying to fix that by doing some really, really in-depth technical stuff. So it's a lot to learn, and it's really unwieldy to use, but the result is you don't end up with, all right, all my clothes are giant puffy things that they don't look good, but sure, you can swap them around,
And you'll see a lot of games do that. You'll see, like, whenever you see games that allow you to switch things, they're big. You like wearing Arctic. wear pretty much,
Every jacket looks
Yeah.
like it's from REI or
Yeah,
something.
it's to fit. Yeah.
Question from the live chat: GFX effects on armor. I think they're like particle effects or light up like Tron bits. As
You guys have the glows and stuff, but particles.
Yeah, glows, particles.
I mean, we have,
thrusters.
there's all the attachments and stuff that Gage's team sets up for grenades and all that. I don't know why you couldn't also
Yeah, we
put
can definitely attach
effects
particles.
emitters and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
We do we kind of already do for the jetpack. Like,
from a technical standpoint,
technically.
yes, we can do it. I don't think we're going to do it anytime soon, but
Are they talking about like,
You're talking about like a Tron armor.
actual moving LEDs on a
like
suit?
yes,
Okay, yeah,
that's
yeah.
the pure character art. But if you want,
Illume?
I applied the rotten meat effect to me, and now there's flies all around me. That'd be a visual effects thing, and I don't see why we couldn't apply that. That's a thing. Halo did that. They had lightning you could apply flies around your character. Yeah.
Flies? I don't remember flies.
Yeah. I mean, Gage and I did a test.
Oh, the moving tattoo, yeah.
Yeah. So we tried a lot of different things of actually lights going through the character. We also did some old drawings way back in the day of actual moving LEDs on top of a jacket.
And some of the clothing you guys have made and the armors do already do that. It really what it does is just oscillates the UV space. So if you have like, some kind of varying texture and just have the UV move, down or something. just
So yes,
kinda does
it
it,
is-
yeah.
it is
It'll animate
doable.
for you.
That is dope.
Tron can be done.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It can be done.
Yeah.
Yeah, the slaver armor, I think, on the collar has
Yes.
a.
Right.
So just imagine that, but done across an entire
Just done
character.
across the
Sure,
entire
yes,
body,
we
yeah.
can do that.
Right. Do you remember what does that LED say?
Yeah,
It
players
says
should pay a lot of
something.
attention to what
They
we
don't
write
want
in
to.
the secrets.
I think it's still like super readable. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know what it says. I just can't think
I
of
love what it says.
right
It's
now.
my favorite.
yeah.
Do you have a message for us, or you're just coming out to?
Something
Hi,
about
Tyler.
enslavement of mankind?
Yep. Yeah.
Something like
A certain artist.
I don't remember.
It says just because you can do a thing doesn't mean you must do a thing. Just over and over and over.
in maximum resolution, I think was.
Okay, so we are just about to wrap up. I'm looking for some last minute here. So he goes, any plans for creating human armor or clothing concepts that incorporate alien technologies into them?
Oh.
Like Mist ships incorporate a lot of Shion influence.
Any
thoughts?
plans?
They're going to say plans, but I know that we're not authorized to share any plans that they exist. I don't know.
I mean,
if there are
I would
plans.
say
I just know that we're not
if
authorized.
any team here is doing something, then so we have a ship that's mixing alien technology. There's no reason the character team couldn't do the same thing.
I mean, just wanted for your thoughts on it. Would you be
Oh,
excited about
oh.
the idea of it?
Of course.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, I want to make an armor made out of Shion skin.
Like you slay a Shion and then just
Yeah, just put it on.
I keep bringing up the
Turtle shells.
the sandworm from one of our past demos, like making a full armor set made out of.
Chitlin armor.
get enough fangs.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly that. Yeah, because it'd be perfect. It'd be amazing. I'm a big Dune fan, so I'm like, oh, it look like a still suit.
Is it chitin or chitin?
Kite.
We're not the place where you got to pronounce words.
Chitness is chitness.
Is it Idris? Is it Idris? Is it Shion? Is it Zion? We're not the place you go for pronouncing things.
He is a language,
Genre.
remember, so he can.
The disco language.
Language here.
It's Shion, by the way. It's also Idris.
Or Sean.
So, no, it's Shion.
Sean.
Gian Tracy, yeah.
Yeah, Gian Tracy.
Tracy.
More questions?
No, that's it. Actually, we're done.
What?
We are done.
That's
yeah.
a wrap.
We did it. Any final words or thoughts before we let anybody go? Anything you want the community to know about your work?
Any last words?
I would definitely say if there's things you want, just be really vocal about it, because that.
Yeah, we do listen for sure.
Spectrum.
Yeah. Just communicate that stuff so that we can then take that and push for things.
I'm gonna give Corey's address.
Fans
out.
want this.
Let's mail you things.
Yes.
Yes. To piggyback on what he said, it cannot be stated enough. A big part of what the community does, the community team here does, is they collate this stuff. They collate things like sentiment and the things that the community is saying, the things that they ask for, and they pass that information on to the developers. Now, developers do a great job of going into Spectrum oftentimes and seeing that stuff themselves. So
I know Sean loves to go in there.
Yeah, between those two things, Spectrum is your place to suggest things like that. And even if you're not seeing responses and whatnot, it's because we can either read 10 threads or we can spend time crafting a response to one thread. And it's far more important that we get your feedback than it is that we spend the time responding to everything else. So that what parting words.
What?
This is your last day.
Final thoughts.
I don't know. We're just going with it. We're just going with it, Gage. We're going with it.
Thanks for having me on, man. Thank you for the audience of Landos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the Han Solo movie came out yesterday.
Oh,
It was good. I liked it.
Say spoilers. No, just don't do that.
Spoilers. I liked it.
Jeremiah?
No, don't say his word name. Just
Yeah.
You there?
Anything, Jeremiah?
No.
Okay.
Oh, perfect.
All right. So that wraps up this week's Reverse Verse. We're gonna take a short break. I'm gonna set this up here for a second. If in the break between the hosting and the interview, you saw a Friday flashback to our Ballad of Big Benny song, written and performed by our own Russ Treganza. You're about to see another Friday flashback. This is a bit of unseen footage, a bit of outtakes from previous broadcasts.
Flashback of unseen things.
Yeah, flashback. Well, it happened a long time ago.
A flashback from the future?
Just
A long, long
time ago, in a galaxy far away, Naboo. Play the video. We'll see you in about a minute.
Nice. That was beautiful.
Choke on your forward, man.
All right, so let's put 2 minutes on the clock and begin. What is your name and what do you do?
Oh, that's an interesting question. My name is Will, which is short for William, which actually I was named after my grandfather, Wilhelm, who emigrated from Germany to Bogota, Colombia. And so I was actually named after him because he sadly passed away, and it was a bit of a tradition in my family to name a new child after someone who had died recently. So Will, which is my name, and then my last name is Weisbaum, Will Weisbaum. Weisbaum means white tree in German. My name, it got changed over in Ellis Island when my dad's dad came over. His mother was traveling without her husband. They forced her to go back to her maiden name. So William Weisbaum, and I am a senior writer here at CIG.
I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done. Shut it down. Well, that about wraps up this week's show. A special thanks to Corey and Jeremiah and Gage for taking their time to appear on the show this week. Some housekeeping before I let you go. As we said at the top of the broadcast, we've got just a few minutes left for the first wave of CitizenCon tickets before they close up. This will be your last chance to get tickets for a while if you haven't gotten them already. There's also a tutorial video contest going on right now for some free ships. You can find all the details about that up on Spectrum. And then, of course, this Monday is another all-new episode of Calling All Devs. Even though it's a holiday here in the U.S., we're still doing our shows. You know, I don't stop for nothing. Next week's show covers an array of topics that escape my brain at the moment. I should have prepared for this better. I usually do this over there. But Todd Pappy's back, and he's always got some good info, so you're going to want to check that out. And then lastly, but not leastly, we've got a fun little promotion going on this weekend for Enterprise Day. What's Enterprise Day?
I wouldn't know.
Oh, nope. You'll have to go to the RobertSpaceIndustries.com website to find out what that is, but you're going to need to be quick about it because it's only for this weekend only. And to help you do that, we've got 2 brand new MISC Razor variants that folks have been asking about since the release of that Alpha 3.1 ship trailer back in March. And the best part about these, they're complete and flyable in-game right now. So you're going to be able to have a lot of fun with those this weekend. For Reverse the Verse Live, I'm content manager Jared Huckabee. There's a good chance we'll see you next week, everybody.
My, this your Anakin guy.
Maybe Vader someday later, now he's just a small fry. He left his home and kissed his mother goodbye, saying, JJ, shut the serial off right now.
So I'm gonna be a Jedi.
You're watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.